There's been a lot of talk about cybersecurity in elections lately in the national press and in the state press as well. We want to give you an overview about how we use technology in the state of Maine as we run our election systems. In the 2016 election, there's a lot of discussion about outside influences hacking election systems and running interference in various election systems around the country. That didn't happen in Maine, and we also know that nationally not a single vote was changed as a result of any outside interference. But we do want to talk about our technology, how we use it, what we use it for, how we secure it, and what you can expect when you go to the polls on Election Day. The most important thing that we use in elections to make sure that our elections are secure and accountable is actually the old-fashioned paper ballot. It's pretty tough to hack a pen. Nobody's figured it out yet, and that's really what secures the anchor of our security in our elections today is the use of paper ballots. We don't have voting machines like they have in other states where you have a touch screen that you vote and there's no paper ballot that prints out for you to submit to an elections official. It's all put into a memory device. We don't do that here. We actually start and end with paper ballots. Those are distributed to the towns, they are secured, there's a chain of custody, so we know exactly what happens to every single ballot from the time it leaves a printing press to when it's secured and sealed in a ballot box at the end of the night on election night. Every time a stack of ballots transfers possession, somebody has to sign for it, so we know exactly who has handled ballots at any given time. Your town clerk has received an inventory of ballots. We know exactly how many ballots were sent to your town clerk. And then the town clerk has to reconcile all the numbers at the end. So they know exactly how many ballots were sent out for people who requested an absentee ballot, how many of those were returned, how many ballots were handed out on election day, and how many unused ballots were left over. So those numbers should always reconcile to the same beginning number at the end. So we always have that paper ballot to refer back to if there's a question about the conduct of the election. Even with ranked choice voting, when we bring materials to the Capitol for ranked choice voting, either the memory devices from the tabulators or the physical ballots themselves. Say something were to go wrong with one of the tabulator memory devices and it gets corrupted. It's not a problem because we can always go back and get those towns' ballots just like we did from the towns that count their ballots by hand, and then we can complete the tabulation. So every vote is always counted and always secured. So the beauty of the paper ballot is that you can never thwart the will of the voter. You can't hack into the system and change the result of an election. We do have a computerized central voter registration system that's heavily firewalled, but even if that were completely disabled by an attack, we could still run the election because we would have our paper incoming voter list. We don't use electronic poll books, so that's really important to this process. Even if that was not available, the worst case scenario, we have election day registration. So even if we had to re-register every single voter in the state of Maine, they could still exercise their right to vote because of the paper-based system that we use. We don't transmit ballots over the internet. We don't transmit results over the internet. So the ballot itself, which is created by our own elections division, the physical copies are then given to the printer, and the printer will reproduce those ballots, and we double check them to make sure that everything is straight just the way we gave it to them. And then the ballots themselves are physically transported to polling stations. Nothing is transmitted online. After the election, when it's all said and done, you may be done as a voter, you've read the results in the newspaper, but our work is really just beginning, and the work of your town clerk is just beginning as well. The results are actually written down on a tabulating sheet, and they verify that everything matches up with the numbers that they have, and then that is mailed to us. They have to get us their results within 3 days of the conclusion of the election. We do a final reconciliation to make sure all those numbers match up based on the number of ballots that we sent and the votes that were then cast, the cast vote record, and then any election materials that were left over. We then certify that result. We do that within 20 days and then give the final result to the governor to sign a proclamation declaring the results of the election. All this is done physically. Again, nothing is done online. The memory devices that we use for our tabulators aren't the flash drives that you buy at your local office supply store. These are very sophisticated encrypted devices that are proprietary in their construction by our vendor to really prevent any type of outside influence and to secure the information that is on them. The tabulator device itself is very secure. Again, the information on it is not programmed online. It is programmed in a closed loop system and then physically transported to your town clerk and then tested by your clerk to make sure that everything works for their election and matches up with the ballots that they're assigned. You can have complete confidence in the conduct of our elections in the state of Maine, based on the methodologies that we've put in place to make sure that everything is secure and accountable. Our stock in trade in elections is your confidence in the result. If you have questions about this process, or you see something that you don't understand, don't let it simmer. Give us a call at 626-8400 and we'll try to answer your questions to the best of our ability.